Hey everybody, this is Nathan Crane, founder of the Panacea community and executive producer of Unify Fest, and I'm very grateful you're joining us for the second annual Self-Reliance Summit. You know, this summit is really focused on helping all of us build new skills and learn key insights for living more self-sustained, inspired, and prepared for co-creating this new world of sustainable living that we're all a part of. And today I'm really excited to introduce you to Shayna Gladstone. Shayna empowers others to rewild themselves through her tech startup, NuMundo, her music, her earth journeys, and her permaculture lifestyle. Shayna is also the founder of Dream Activation, guiding individuals and teams through the dream and strategy of igniting their visions. As a lifelong performer, organizer, and earth activist, Shayna has been working hard to empower others to live in right relations with each other, our communities, and this beautiful earth. Shayna, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So today we're talking about realizing our oneness with nature. Maybe you can begin by explaining a bit about the link between humans and nature.
hmm Yeah, I think one of the most important aspects for me to realize and for all of us to realize is that we humans are animals. We are part of this entire ecosystem that we think we're so separated from. And I think that that's the fundamental root issue in our society is the fact that we feel we're so separate from nature when really, I mean, we're 60% water. Our bodies are made up of the components of nature. And the more we realize how integrated and connected we are, the more we realize how we're able to function in a way that constantly is giving back and receiving from nature in a harmonious way. I feel like it seems tribal or like too wild for our modern day society to kind of come into this realization. But when you think about it, it's only been a couple hundred years, and sometimes it surprises me how we've actually forgotten such deep knowledge that our ancestors have carried through. And so I take a lot of inspiration from indigenous teachings as well in my path of continuing to discover the miraculousness of nature and all that provides us and all that we can provide nature as well. So.
Yeah, it reminds me of a book I'm reading, which is called What Has Nature Ever Done for Us? I believe the author's name is Tony Juniper. It's a really good book because we tend to in people involved in what we might call the ecological movement or sustainability movement or the environmental movement, for example. A lot of people tend to think strictly about the environment, the ecology, right, as this kind of separate thing. And we kind of separate ourselves from it. Whereas, he highlights in the book really well, which they also did through Biosphere 2, if you remember that project in Arizona in the 90s, 80s and 90s, where they talk about biomes and biospheres, and which is really the understanding that all living systems, all living ecologies, all living biomes on the planet are not only within their local context, but they affect all other living systems all over the planet, including everything and everybody living within those systems. So it's looking at that wholesome, unified, integrated approach, as you talked about, that, my ecology here, just in my backyard, for example, or in my community, has a major impact on the ecology in somebody else's yard, 3,000 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a valuable point that you're talking about, and it gives us a different way of looking at things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and I think in terms of like kind of bringing it back to permaculture, which is something that I've been studying for a few years. I'm actually going to be getting my certification finally here at a permaculture farm that I live at. And it really teaches us in a practical way how to apply the principles of nature to not only ourselves in our daily life, but also, our gardens and landscapes. And one of the things I find most fascinating about permaculture is the social aspect of it, is the invisible structures that we don't see so often, and how we can use nature's patterns and the way of nature, the way that it moves, the way that water flows, the way that we exchange the cycles of nature, the moon cycles, the seasons, and how we can use those to pattern our own lifestyle choices and habits, as well as our relationships with other people. And so that's something that's really key and important to me, in terms of reconnecting with nature and also reconnecting with other humans. Because I think that's something that's really, core to heal in our society as well.
So do you see technology as a necessary, integral part of the future? Or do you see the future needing to maybe lessen the amount of technology we use?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's funny because I've always had a kind of like a love-hate relationship with technology, because on one hand I see it as the mycelial network of, it's almost like it's like a biomimicry of, the mycelium that grows under our feet, in a way that it's manifested in this digital world to be able to send and receive information super quickly and be able to connect with global communities. And so I think that it's just important to find this perfect balance between seriously getting your hands in the dirt and understanding both, both nature and technology, and finding a balance in between the two. But I do think that technology is so key, and being able to connect with like larger communities, and also really just manifesting any kind of projects or dreams that you have. It's like incredible how the rapid pace that you're able to just like get messages out there, start movements, start revolutions, and make things happen. And so it's definitely a key component to my life. But the older I get, the more I realize that I'm like, oh, my back hurts. Like, this is not sustainable for my body to be, in front of the computer all day. So I'm sort of weaving my life in a way personally that can balance the two out a little bit more, but so important. Both sides of the coin, just finding that perfect balance, I think is key.
Yeah, I'm at a crossroads myself because, like, if I tell people straight up, like, I don't want to see technology in the future, I think it's destroying the planet, they think I'm crazy, and they, stop listening. And at the other side of it too is like, yeah, we need, more advanced, more sustainable, forms of technology, since we're using it so much right now. So it's kind of like, I'm trying to see, in the next 20, 30, 40 years, I can see, like, they have these new machines they can put on the ocean that, can generate electricity from the waves, and, they can roll out solar panels out and spray on solar and all these kinds of things. It's, good for getting us off fossil fuels. Like, I think that's huge. If we're going to use technology, let's use it in a better way.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I look like 100, 200, 300 years down the road, and if we keep going that direction, advancing, more technology, more machines, we're going to see the same thing that we see now. The ocean's filled with all these waved, electric generating machines, all these robots all over the
Yeah.
place generating electricity, and we're going to have
Mhm.
more, radiation coming out, more cell phone waves, more of all this stuff, which we know is causing cancer and destroying people and the planet and our health. So it's like,
Mhm.
it is. It's kind of finding that, like I'm using technology to reach, many people. We are right now. People are connecting with us, which is great. But I also see this potential at some point where maybe we don't need all this, and we can tap into all of this innate technology we have inside of us already, that, like, the military has been experimenting with for decades, right? Instant communication without phones and without machines. So if that's possible, I feel like shouldn't we be focusing more on that as future technology than maybe some of the other stuff? I don't know. It's I'm just at that crossroads right now, but I agree. Balance is definitely key.
Oh yeah, I mean that's yeah, I mean I've definitely played with that idea a lot of like this is just a tool and we're almost like we're babies using this technology and it's almost like a stepping stone to actually utilizing the telepathic communication that that we may or may have not have used hundreds of years ago. I believe we probably did. And again, the deeper that you're connected with nature, the kind of there I was having a little nature sit spot which I do every morning to like just receive messages from nature and I saw these birds just like moving across the sky in a swarm and I'm thinking like how are they communicating and knowing which way to turn and which way to go and it's that intrinsic nature of being able to communicate and kind of like work as a community and as a swarm and as a hive and developing that hive mind ability without technology. It's just like, yeah, again, learning from nature and how can we just deeper, more deeply tap into that ability to communicate through these other means, these innate means that we're so far away from, but yet so close to at the same time.
It's amazing too as you spend more time in nature, like you said, just sitting, meditating, connecting, watching, observing, getting your hands in the dirt and paying attention, how much more in tune you become, with not only the plants around you, the food that you're growing, the water, the flow of things, the natural cycles, but also the people around you, right? You become more sensitive to, stuff that's going on with people, the energies, the emotions, the situations. And I like to think that, it even gives you more of a grounded ability in how to maybe be of service to the people in your community at a deeper level, a more grounded approach.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's just my perspective. So, but
Really
yeah,
think.
but you were talking a moment ago, social systems from a permaculture point of view, amazingly important. That takes us to the cultural narrative, the story
Yeah.
of our culture, of our society, specifically here in the West. So, what's your take on our current cultural narrative, where we're at, and kind of, give us your perspective on that.
Yeah. There's a lot there. I want to start with this like point of apathy and ignorance that a lot of us are facing right now in this time of huge crisis and transition where we can all feel it in our bones that the world is at a point of crossroads of making a choice between one way or the other. And what I'm seeing a lot, and even with my own family, sometimes is this sense of like really not feeling empowered or having the ability to make a change in the world, and therefore just letting the world kind of crush down on them and not in putting a blind eye to really what's happening in the world right now. And I feel like in terms of our cultural narrative, we are ready to be empowered, and I think that's the most important thing is really finding a way that we can realize that we are able to make a change in the world and not to crumble under all of the fear and the media and all of the things that are coming at us so intensely all the time. And something that I always think about is the fact that, yes, we're privileged Americans and we have a lot of these kids in schools who could have so much potential to make huge changes in the world, but because the way that the system is created, it's not allowing them to feel that they can make a difference and that they can like fulfill their dreams. And I feel like that's like the sort of the center point of the missing piece there is in order to shift our cultural paradigm is really to empower each other to be able to make a difference, and just knowing that in our hearts and in our minds that we are capable of it, and that's all we need to know, and therefore we can begin to live our destiny and our truth, and create the world that we want for ourselves and for our future, for future generations. So
Yeah.
I think it comes from empowerment.
Beautiful. Yeah, I agree. And it reminds me, I mean, that's what this summit is about, Self-Reliance Summit. It's about cultivating our skills and our abilities and empowering ourselves to be able to, go out into the world with strong, passionate, conscious abilities and actually do good things, in our communities and for the world. And you were there. I taught a workshop at Lucidity. I titled "Visionary Solutions," and it was a workshop. Everyone got up and shared. We were talking about the major issues of the world, and then everyone, the point was to empower everyone to come up with their own solutions to these major challenges we're facing. Economic, political, social, environmental, etc. And it was good. The first time I taught that workshop, but I never. Every time I teach anything, it just comes intuitively. So I taught the same workshop in Albuquerque at the Red and Green Veg Fest, but it was a completely different workshop, and it was every time it just downloads differently. And this one, I was really guided to talk about um, growing your own food and really empowering people to understand that, like, that's what I feel is like the most number one important, empowering, self-reliant thing you can do that literally will make the biggest change and impact on the planet for climate change, for fossil fuel usage, etc. So this is coming up because of the words cultural narrative, where I feel like right now we're at a time where our narrative tells us that we shouldn't grow food. We're not farmers. That's somebody else's job. Give it to the corporations. Let them handle it for us. But we see what happens when we do that, right? They're in it for profit. So they're going to genetically modify your food. They're going to put pesticides on it. They want to do big row crops. They deplete the soils, all this stuff that's poisoning us. Not because I don't think they intend to poison us. I think it's because they're looking to do things more efficiently with a closed mind, without realizing what we're talking about here, realizing our oneness with nature. And in so doing, you take the power away from yourself, give it to somebody else, and say, you handle my food. And yet, we can easily take that power back. And by doing that, even just a small percentage of your own food, it empowers you so much. It empowers your health. It empowers your local economy. It empowers, the average meal to get from where it's grown to your dinner plate is about 1,500 miles of travel. That's the average in the United States. That's insane. That, it's fossil fuels, vehicles, driving, warehousing, cooling, all this stuff that we immediately eliminate just by growing your
Right.
own food. So anyway, empowerment is what we're talking about. And absolutely, I think that's one way, and I think there's many ways that we can empower ourselves to really make a difference.
Absolutely. And I think for me, one of the most important aspects of that is not, you can't tell everyone to grow food, because maybe that just doesn't fuel them. Maybe I realized, like, I talked to this one girl once in Chile when I was in this business accelerator program, and I was telling her all that I do, and she was like, yeah, but just growing food and the environment, it just doesn't excite me. And so I think the key to this is finding what excites you, and then putting that towards, how you can make change in the world. And that's one of the things that I've worked with youth on, and youth groups in the past, over the past couple of years, with, is finding your passions and your innate talents and abilities, and putting it with a solution or an issue in your community that you find challenging, matching those two together. And now not only are you using what fuels you, but you're also making amazing change in the world. And so I see that being a huge way that I'm going to continue showing up and supporting youth and other communities to realize their own personal gifts and helping the world in whatever way they see that be in their own way. So.
So what are some other ways you might help people to empower themselves, to connect to their passion, to be able to show up in the world and feel good about the work that they do?
Yeah. Um, Personally, I've done a lot of like supporting people and just their own visioning, and I think again going back to sort of the mindset of feeling disempowered, um, being able to help people realize that we are limitless, just like plants reaching for the sky, and that there are ways that you have to get through certain obstacles, just as a seed has to break its way through the soil. And I like to use those analogies a lot in the way that we're the same, and that we, just as plants are, we're reaching for the sky. There's no limit. Literally, there's the sky is the limit, and therefore that's the same metaphor that we can use for ourselves. And I think that first, getting over our own self doubt and our own fears and our own ability to see that we literally are limitless, and the only limitations that we put on ourselves are created by society. And I think what got me so what got me into this originally was being in high school and realizing at the end of my senior year, they're taking a computer program and plugging in, oh, what do you like to do? What are your favorite
Right.
activities? What are your grades? Okay, here are your options for what you can do with your life. And I just got so mad, and that was the time where I was really starting to wake up and realizing that we were being put in these boxes. And I was like, this is not okay. I'm not doing this. And I really like put a fit up, and I was such like a troublemaker because I would always, second guess the teachers and talk back and say, no, like I'm so much more than this. And I can't believe that we're, being put in these boxes. And since then I've really tried to challenge what's possible and challenge the status quo, and like really have these like ridiculous dreams that I knew I could do just because I know it was possible. And it wasn't just for me either. It was for being, a role model for other people to see that that it's possible. Like if I can do it, like you can too, kind of a thing. So, yeah.
I'm glad you brought up those tests. I forgot all about them. I did the same thing. When I took them, I was just like, this is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Like, I think I just shredded it and threw it away and got in trouble or something. I mean, I was always in trouble in school because
Yeah.
all those kinds of things just pissed me off. And I just thought it was ridiculous. But talking about empowerment, I think that, dreaming, adding to that, which you kind of touched on, I think is really important for people to realize too, is having huge goals, having
Mhm.
massive goals, having, dreams and visions that are just like, even beyond what you ever think you could achieve. And having that not necessarily as something that you're working towards every day right away, maybe, like especially if you don't believe you can achieve it, it's going to be counterproductive. But just doing that process of visioning, like, what do I really want for my life? What's the biggest thing what's the most joyful, loving, happy, abundant thing I could experience in my life? And really tune into that and then write it down. I think that is so, so important because, oftentimes I think we dream way too small. And, we're taught that by being in these square classrooms with these boxes, put into these boxes of what you can and can't do. And that's all, I mean, it's all bullshit, as we know. I'm a high school dropout, and I was in and out of jail as a teenager and homeless 3 times before I was 19, and failed at 5 companies before I had one that finally became successful. And now I have 5 and a nonprofit and doing a lot of great social work around the world and donating my time. And like you have all these amazing things going on, all these great projects, and it had nothing to do with school. It actually, school motivated me to go out and actually do something with my life because they always told me I couldn't do it, and that
Yeah.
just like empowered me more.
Yeah,
Whereas,
you know that.
whereas some people,
Yeah.
it really puts them down, and that's tough to deal with. You're told you can't do it, can't do it, can't do it, and then you believe it. Then your whole life you're just in this 9 to 5 job, in this routine, in this life that you don't really like. And so, I think setting your goals huge and massive and dreaming big, and like you said, then realizing that there is no limit, that you can achieve that, and it's not about the how you're going to do it. It's about the fact that you have the vision and now you can start taking steps towards it, even if it's just a little tiny step after step after step. Eventually you will get there, and that's
Right.
it's so beautiful to know that. It
Mm.
really is. But it's hard when you don't have that experience yet,
Right.
of setting something huge and actually achieving it. It's like you just don't believe you can. So shifting your perception, shifting your belief is what you're talking about.
Right. And I think a lot of it, oftentimes when I talk to people, it's like it's not just like a matter of being empowered and even setting a goal, but like really a lot of people don't even know what it is that they want,
Right.
and it's like that's like the very first step. It's like what do you want? Like what's your ideal life? Like the way that I like to walk people through it is sort of like how would you imagine like your day? What do you want to be doing? How do you want to wake up in the morning? Do you want to go on? Do you want to first thing?
So
Do you want to
let's
be
so
in?
let so let's do this. Let's do this. Yeah, let everybody listening right now, grab a notepad. Maybe take 5 minutes or 10 minutes here and guide people through this process, because I think this is really valuable. People can
Yeah,
take away a lot from this. So um, maybe you can start over with that, and everyone listening, write these questions down and do this visioning as Shayna's talking about it.
yeah. So close your eyes and take a deep breath and let go of everything that once was. Anything that you're holding on to, let it go. Let it compost into the earth. Give it back to where it came from. Now, as we allow ourselves to drop into this space, imagine ourselves in 5 years from now. You wake up in the morning, you stretch your arms out, and you take your first breath in for the day. Look around and see where you are. What does it look like? What does it smell like? Who might be with you? Are you alone? Do you have a partner? You walk over to your window, you take a look out, and what do you see? You see trees, do you see a city? You see children playing, do you see gardens? You see people hustling and bustling and getting to work and getting to where they need to be for the day. As you get ready for the day, you start feeling excited about what you're going to be doing this day. And this is your life's work today. This is what you're here for. What is it that you're going to do today? Who are you working with? What kind of activities are you partaking in? How do you feel getting ready for the day, getting ready to go out and give yourself to this world? What does that feel like? And as you're making your way through your day, what kind of people are you surrounded by? Are they smiling? Are they full of warmth and joy? Are they loving? Are they kind? Maybe you're working with children. Maybe you're working with elders. Maybe the sky is the limit for you. What does that look like? What does your most fulfilling day look like to you? After your day, you come home, make some dinner for yourself, feeling totally fulfilled and content with all that you accomplished in this day, feeling, wow, I'm so grateful for what for what the creator, the universe has given me and blessed me on this path to be able to walk in the fullest, most authentic expression of myself. What does that feel like? You kick off your shoes and you get into bed and you have a good night's sleep and get ready to wake up and have another amazing day. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
thanks.
Yeah, it's funny because about um, must have been in 2011, so 5 years now. I actually received this vision of it was actually a vision that came to me of a school and an eco community,
Mm.
and I drew it that day, and then I kind of put it on the shelf and knew that one day that would be something that I would build, and so it sat there as we were, building our community and doing these projects and all these things until just this last year. And it came back out and said, now's the time. After we moved to Santa Fe, it was like, Santa Fe is the place. Now's the time. It's time to do it. So I worked out the blueprint and everything. And, the school and the community that we're building through our nonprofit is called Ucadia. And Unify Fest, which is a 4-day festival on sustainability and celebrating life and indigenous ceremony and building skills for the new world and having an amazing time, yoga and a lot of movement, a lot of great dancing. Is helping to raise funds for the nonprofit so we can build the school here in Santa Fe. And anyway, the 5 year, just to share a little bit, the 5 year vision that I just envisioned right now was, waking up in that community and seeing the children going to the school and being a part of it and seeing that whole sustainable community developed and the kids happy and all of that. So it's nice. It felt really good. It feels really good to be able to vision ourselves in the future of where we want to be. I think it's such an important practice of our creative abilities.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll also add that a lot of these places that we might be imagining, I'm sure that a lot of us who are tuned in today envision, similar lifestyles of being immersed in nature and growing your own food and all of these things. And so I guess I'll speak a little bit about NuMundo, which is another way that I'm empowering people to fulfill these dreams and these visions that they have of these amazing places or these different lifestyles that you can live. So NuMundo is a network that connects people to transformational travel experiences around the world. And basically, you can go online and search for any kind of skill or any kind of trade that you might want to learn, whether it's yoga, sustainability, specifically like natural building or solar cooking or these different sustainable technologies. And find a place in the world that you can go to either work, trade at, take a course, or just stay at. And eventually find maybe a home for you to live and to create this dream of yours that you have. And that's really stemmed from my personal exploration of permaculture centers around the world until I finally found one that I'm ready to ground at, which is here in Ojai at a permaculture demonstration farm called East End Eden. And it's honestly one of the most amazing permaculture demonstration sites that I've been to in the world. So we invite you to join the NuMundo community and start, finding and exploring your passions and your skills through connecting with the earth and through living in community and through growing your own food and through learning these appropriate technologies that help us become empowered and, and take that back for ourselves.
And I just want to add to that, it is a fantastic community and it's a great platform. I think I'm have an ambassador title or something because of supporting the your guys' crowdfunding campaign that looked like it went really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in there on the forums and chatting a little bit and looking at, and searching communities, and it's really well done. I mean, it's probably the better site I've seen for this sort of thing. It's cool for, it's like, oh, you want to pull up Costa Rica, see what communities are there, or eco villages, or sustainable projects or something, and they pull up, and it's really easy to use. So check it out. The website is new, like NuMundo, MUNDO, newmundo.org. And we'll put a link below this video. Take a look at it. And it's free for people just to sign up, right? And be a part of the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll also mention that we just launched a new service called Pathfinding. And so people that want more of like a one-on-one personalized transformational travel consultant or advice, we work with you one-on-one to help you match you to a specific center around the world that like meets your personal life goals and travel goals as well. So that's also on our website. It's called a Pathfinding program, and we're really excited to work with more people there as well.
Beautiful. So a few other websites to share with everybody. I know your new website's coming up, weavingways.com. So you can get in touch with Shayna directly there. We'll put a link below as well, so take a look at that. Also, if you missed any of the interviews during the free broadcast period of the summit, you can upgrade and own all the videos and watch them as many times as you want. There should be an upgrade button on this page somewhere, so take a look at that. And finally, I want to invite you to come out to Santa Fe and join us in the land of enchantment for Unify Fest. As I said, it's a 4-day transformational festival. It's a high vibrational event, really dedicated to leaving the land better than we found it. We have amazing indigenous elders coming in and doing ceremony for all 4 days, from morning to night. There's cacao ceremonies, there's Mayan fire ceremonies, there's grandmother elders coming from different countries coming in to give panel grandmother wisdom elder talks, and as well as workshops, hands-on training, a lot of great music. Trevor Hall, Mike Love, over 50 bands, 30, 40 presenters, workshops. Anyway, check it out, unifyfest.com. We'll put a link below that as well. Other than that, Shayna, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for doing all the beautiful work that you do, and I really appreciate your time here with us.
Thank you very much. It was an honor.
Absolutely. And thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time on the Self-Reliance Summit. Take care.